Welcome back. So you've been wondering where I've been. Well, it's just been a long, brutal winter, and I had desires of getting out with you and doing some field shooting out there, and maybe getting out to the range this winter and things like that. But this has been a very long, peculiar winter for us. April 1st, and I've still got 16 to 18 inches of snow all around my property, and very, very little indications that it's going to be clearing up soon. I woke up this morning, it was still below freezing. Southern New Hampshire is greening up. You know, the crocuses and daffodils are already starting to show down there in places. So it's gonna be a little longer for us though. So hopefully they'll at least be able to get some maple sugaring done with these cold nights and warmer days. And that's what it requires. So what I can do instead is, oh, and by the way, Benny's doing just awesome. Thanks for asking, and thanks for your prayers. He's just doing wonderfully. He's been putting on weight, probably a little bit more weight than he ought to be putting on, but like me, he's been getting cabin fever too. He gets out in the snow and runs around and everything as much as he can up to his armpits in the snow, but he likes getting out and that stuff, but I think he's longing for a little bit of freedom to be able to run the woods more. So I want to just cover some facts in the next few videos. Answer some of the questions that are rather persistent questions that I get from time to time. And I understand that people don't necessarily see all the videos that I've done, and I've answered some of these questions in my videos. I think most of these questions I've answered one way or another in my videos. But for those of you who have not seen them all, at least I can cover those questions and scratch the surface so that you can maybe, and everything that I have covered, I do encourage you to turn back and watch the videos that explain these topics in depth, because I'm only gonna talk about them in brief. A common question I get is, how do I store a gun for long term? Well, this gun here was made this nice pre-64. Yes, it's pre-64 all right. This is a pre-64 Model 94 Winchester 32 Special. It was made in 1953, so I was in my early youth, and this gun has one way or another been stored. I've been storing it for about 8 years, 9 years on a wall hanging from a couple of wrought iron pegs that my dad made when he was doing blacksmithing. And I've got, I got this gun from its term of storage in a large gun store where it was sitting, on a floor rack where people went by every day and picked it up and checked it out and waxed the action and put it back with their grubby, oily paws. And it was probably stored behind somebody's, kitchen door or bathroom door or something like that, and may have been stored in a gun cabinet with a glass front or something. It was carried afield. It has indications that it was certainly bumped around a little bit. There's some dings on the stock, but the gun is in great shape. You can see here it's just got a little bit of, the metal is still very iridescent. It gleams. You can see there's a couple of places on the wood where it's been banged around a little bit, but the varnish is in good shape. The steel butt plate is still quite blued. So it's been stored somehow or another. It's been stored. Most of its life. For most of its life, there was no such thing as desiccant cans, and there was no such thing as golden rods, dehumidifying rods or anything like that. But it was made to be a long-lasting instrument. When steel is blued, that's basically it's an antioxidant oxidizing process. It sounds like kind of a peculiar thing, but that's exactly what bluing is. It's an oxidizing process of the steel, which precludes the formulation of a deteriorating type of oxidation, which is normally called rust. So that is something which, when it's done to steel, is a fantastic rust preventative. So as I've explained before, blued steel is greatly protected right from the get-go. When you get it out of a cardboard box at the store, it's protected from rust. It requires very, very little care to give it the ultimate protection, which is just on occasion take a lightly oiled cloth, which is always just make sure it's cotton flannel, no synthetics or anything like that, no microfibers, just cotton flannel, like you make, like somebody would make children's pajamas from. And you get it at a fabric store, have it cut with pinking shears so that it won't ravel. It's just, you just cut it with a sawtooth edge. They'll do that at the store for you. I just make 20-inch sheets of this, and I have them in different parts of the house wherever I have guns. And so I just make sure that I wipe it down on occasion. That's all you need to do. Now, if you've got a gun in a gun safe, a steel gun safe, it's a hazardous environment for guns, because steel gun safes are condensation boxes. They attract the accumulation of condensation, just like a soda or a beer can will condense on the outside, and they'll condense on the inside with changes in outside temperature and humidity and things like that. So the simple solution to that is a dehumidifying rod. It's simply an AC alternating current rod, which is passed through a hole in the side of the safe, and you plug it into the wall and just forget it. Every time you go into the safe, you'll notice that your guns are nice and dry. There's no formulation of humidity. I've had one plugged in since 1987. 1987. It's been running continuously, and it uses barely pennies a month for electricity. You can touch it, and it's warm to the touch. It's not hot. You don't have to worry about it burning anything inside the safe or anything like that. And you don't have to recharge it like you do with desiccant cans. And those are fine for situations where you have no access to electric current. But they have to be recharged. They basically have to be dried out again and start from scratch. They can only accumulate so much moisture before they no longer can contain moisture. I should say attract moisture. So that's all you need to do. And if you've got stainless steel guns, you just simply wipe them down to keep dirt off them. That's all you have to do. What about peculiar circumstances where you might have to, you have to go away on, maybe go off on tour in the military for a couple of years, and you're not going to be back for a while to, to tend to your guns and, keep them polished up. Well, all you need to do is just simply, go to your local Tractor Supply store or your local Napa store or something like that, and pick up a small tub of axle grease that you'd put on, your Timken bearings in your, your trailer, something like that. How come not gun grease? Well, does the grease somehow or another identify, oh, that's a gun? Or do you somehow or another get axle grease and say, oh, that's not an axle, I need to be gun grease in order to go on that steel? That's about the biggest bunch of BS that I've ever heard. And it's played both ways. Axle grease will say it's for axles, and gun grease will say it's for guns. It's grease. It's mineral oil with stiffeners in it, and sometimes they put things in it that prevent it from separating. Cheap grease will separate. You'll have it basically, the mineral oil will separate out of the rest of it, and you'll have this messy, drippy substance. But just simply good grease that comes in a tube. You can go to you probably can go down to your local service station where they where they service automobiles, and bring a small coffee cup with you and just ask the guy, you give him $1 and he'll fill the coffee cup up with you from his, pull down his hose, and burp, 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 and you got some grease. Trust me, the grease is, any grease that can spin around, for thousands and millions of revolutions at high RPMs when you're doing 90 miles an hour down the road is going to protect your gun, trust me. So all you need to do is just simply wipe the gun down with a light coat of that grease, and that gun is protected forever. Never, under any circumstances, plug the bore. You don't stick anything down the bore, any cotton cloths or patches or anything. Just pass a cleaning rod down through with a lightly greased patch that coats the inside of the bore, and wipe a light coat of grease on the outside of the steel, and you're fine. But you don't have to pay premium prices for so-called gun grease. So, all right, that's all there is about storage. What about storage of ammunition? Well, there's actually two kinds of classifications of ammunition. There's this centerfire ammunition and rimfire ammunition. Rimfire ammunition does not store well. Take it from me. I've had a lot of experience with storing rimfire ammunition, and even under the best circumstances, it tends to deteriorate pretty quickly. Over a period of maybe only a few years, you'll start having misfires develop and things like that. It's very thin brass. I don't think the priming compound is something which tends to last all that long. So you want to keep your 22 ammunition, rotated. In other words, have fun with it. Go out and shoot it, and then rotate it and use just like they do at the stores. They put the new product in the back and they move the old product forward. So do that with your 22 ammo. You can keep a supply of it. If you want to keep a couple of thousand rounds on hand so that you have it, do that. But rotate it and shoot up your old stuff first. Get rid of it because it's not going to keep. Centerfire ammunition, on the other hand, it's quite another thing. I once had a whole bunch of military 30-06 ammunition that was made before World War II. It was made in 1932. And Frankfurt Arsenal, old stuff. And in the late 70s and early 80s, I popped off all of that stuff, and it all fired without a problem whatsoever. And that had not been stored in any kind of special ammo cans or anything like that. It had just been stored in the same bandoliers that were packed for many years, with the GI 8-round end block clips, and that's all they had. So they were stored in those cotton bandoliers. Actually, it wasn't OD in those days; it was more of a tan brown. But those things lasted forever. Centerfire ammunition is very, very easy to store. If you have any real serious concerns, I've had ammo stored for a long time. I've made some ammo up that I didn't get to shoot right away, and next thing I looked at it and I said, gee, I made those in 1991. I wonder if it still shoots. So I take it out to the range and it still shoots tiny little groups. So it's fine. It lasts for a long, long time. I don't have any concerns about it. If you're really concerned, you can get yourself some ammo cans, that have a rubber gasket, and they clamp down nice and tight, 50 BMG cans, and that'll ensure that they stay forever. If you do put them in such a can, and you do have humid situations, if you're in a very damp basement or something like that, yes, you've got to put a dry desiccant pack in there, something that will, soak up the moisture that's in that can when you seal it. Whatever the ambient air is when you seal it is being trapped in there. So if it's a damp day, that's what's going into that can. You have to have some desiccant in there that will quickly absorb that moisture. Now, the day you come and open up that can, you've now violated the integrity of that interior. You've got to recharge your desiccant and do it all over again. But that's all there is to it. Now, what about reloading components? Primers are pretty, I would say, pretty subject to deterioration. I've had primers go bad, shotgun primers and centerfire primers I've had go bad. And it seems that they're more sensitive than anything else to moisture conditions and changes in temperature and humidity and all that. So you need to make sure that you rotate those very quickly, use them up, and if you're going to store them for any length of time, make sure that you do store them the same way I said for the ammo, is to get some good high-grade military ammo cans that have a good seal, and again, put a desiccant in with them. Under no circumstances take them out of the sleeves that the manufacturer put them in. Don't ever put them in a jar or something like that. You don't say, well, gee, I can fit them better if I just pour them into an ammo can. What you have is a bomb which will level your house. It's a very primers are percussion sensitive detonation machines. Those things will absolutely explode. The power of one primer is pretty intense. The power of one primer can put a bullet, a third of the way down that barrel. You get a bunch of those together all at the same time going off, and you can level a factory. So don't ever store them. Don't ever just pour them together into a container, because primer dust is by itself, that's a very it's a bomb. So I covered the 22s, I covered the centerfire, primers, powder. Powder now is, these days, the way it's stored in plastic containers that the manufacturers, put them in, it lasts for a long, I would say forever. I see no circumstance where the powder is going to deteriorate. Bruce Hodgson started his business back in the late 40s by purchasing, train car loads full of, surplus military powder that had been around for heaven knows how long, the only thing that is subject to is naturally is subject to deterioration from the elements, from moisture contamination. But the old cardboard containers that they used to use that basically attracted moisture and deteriorated the powder after a period of time, those containers are no longer being used, and now everything is they're in plastic bottles that very nicely seal away exterior moisture. And again, with powders, never store them in anything other than the original containers, because if you ever mistake one powder for another, or you mix them up, you can have a very disastrous situation. So you don't have to worry about storing powders these days. You can just keep them like everything else. Keep it in a cool, dry location. If the environment that you live in is cool and dry enough, that's fine. Just don't torture the things that you buy and put them in a doghouse outside or something like that, where the temperature changes 40 degrees in the course of a day with the sun beating on a black roof, and then at nighttime it turns cold. That's don't put them in torturous environments like that, and don't store your stuff in some sort of a lock-up container, these used storage places or something. That's not, if you're going to have that stuff, I see no point in storing it. You have it because you're going to be using it. So I'll see you with my next fact very shortly. So thanks for watching, and thanks for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. God bless.